G'day, I'm Adam Collins. Welcome to Stories. Today I'm talking about Mistborn, The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. This is the first book in the Mistborn trilogy. This is a fascinating epic fantasy which borrows from other genres, mostly from the Heist genre. It's been described as Ocean's 11 in a fantasy setting. The heroes of this book are a thieving crew. Now, this in itself was enough to grab my attention. A lot of fantasy stories are all about defeating the big bad Dark Lord. The hero has to prevent evil from taking over the world. Mistborn starts by saying all of that is in the past, and the Dark Lord, the Lord Ruler, was victorious. Now we're living in the aftermath of a world ruled by him. As you can imagine, that's not a very nice world. The Lord Ruler is ruthless and cruel. Somebody has to take him down. Who better than a bunch of con artists? The thing is, nothing is ever as simple as it seems. We get glimpses into the backstory that led to the Lord Ruler's victory at the beginning of each chapter. Who was this Dark Lord really? What was he really about? We certainly don't get all the answers in this book, but there was enough to make me really want to continue with this series. If all of this wasn't enough to make a great story, we have a seriously cool magic system. Certain characters are able to draw special abilities from metals. They call this allomancy. Different metals offer different powers. The idea is that you ingest these metals. While you metabolize them, you get the special power. Now, different people could burn different metals. One person might be able to burn steel, which allows you to push on metals, while another could burn pewter. This gives you increased speed and strength. Now, most people are not allomancers, so they can't burn any metals, but then once in a while you'll find someone who can burn all of them. These people are called Mistborn. In a sense, I'd almost describe these Mistborn as more like superheroes and wizards. We're not talking Gandalf here. They can move metals about in a telekinetic kind of way. This allows them to use coins as weapons, but it also lets them jump up and almost fly by pushing off stationary metals. This leads to some epic battle scenes. I tend to picture something akin to Neo from The Matrix. This would make an awesome movie, but Sanderson's highly visual prose style allows this movie to play out in your head. As the story goes on, we discover a second magic system, also related to metals. I'm not going to go into this, but it's also fascinating. The setting is probably around an early 1800s level of technology, but without gunpowder. The society itself is interesting. We see a distinct division of the classes. The average people, called Scar, are treated like slaves, while the nobility live a more luxurious lifestyle, holding regular balls like you might see in Pride and Prejudice, but at the price of collaborating with the Lord Ruler. This book has multiple viewpoint characters, as you might expect in an epic fantasy, but we see a lot of the story through the eyes of Vin, a young girl who's new to this whole world of allomancy, though she's been in thieving crews for most of her life. She serves as a great introduction to this world. She's also a very sympathetic protagonist. She becomes our friend. Mistborn has a reasonably large cast, but I didn't have too much trouble keeping all the characters sorted in my head. This didn't particularly feel like a really long book. I think that's because it was really fast paced. There weren't really any lags, there was always something interesting happening. The ending of this book was fantastic. It brings everything to a satisfying conclusion, so you don't feel as though it stopped before the story was over. But at the same time, it still had something of a cliffhanger feel to it. You get the impression that not everything was as you thought it was, and there could be something really nasty up ahead. I've recently read book 2, and I'm just starting on book 3 now. I can tell you, this series continues to be awesome. If you want a fantasy story that takes a genre and turns it upside down and inside out, or if you just want an exciting adventure story with colourful characters and some really cool speculative elements, then you'll love Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find a bunch of different ways on the About page of my blog. Catch you next time!